Hi, today I'm making a video. I thought it would be fun about my favorite shows I watched as a kid. Uh, in the 70s, I was born in the late 60s. I grew up in the 70s, and a lot of these are repeat shows that I saw when I was young. And I watched it when I was, in the 70s when they were all repeats because I was too young. So I'll grab tissues. If you have a comment on what shows you like to watch, cartoons from the 70s. This is a two-parter. One's going to be the 70s and one is the 80s because I was born in 1967. So I'm going to do it, and there's no special order. One is, I'll do one through whatever. One is The Electric Company. Here you guys. That was on PBS from 1971, I think, till 1977. Morgan Freeman was in it, and some other people were in it. It was about teaching kids how to spell and read and read and stuff like learn. They had Spider-Man in it and a bunch of other things. It was cool. It was PBS. It was in the time before Sesame Street, and I think it was still the same people. And then the one after before number two was Sesame Street. How come day seeking out pounds away. Yeah, that came out in I think 1968 or 69, Sesame Street, and I watched it as a young. This is honorable mention. I loved Sesame Street, and I loved Electric Company. I think I liked Electric Company a little more than Sesame Street, but I did love Sesame Street because they taught you how numbers. That was for younger kids. Sesame Street, I think, was for like three-year-olds learning how to read and count. They had the count who taught you how to count. He was a vampire. He taught people. They had Oscar the Grouch. They had Big Bird. They taught people how to read and write and spell. So that was more like that. And then Zoom. The Zoom was for an older crowd. It was sort of like Electric Company, except for Zoom was for a little bit older things, people learning how to spell too, but a different way. And then number three was what is it? The Croft brothers. I forget. There was Sid, Man, the Sea Monster, and Johnny and Scott are friends. And I also liked Lidsville about hats that are alive, puppets that are hats that are alive. This guy comes and he meets these Hatsville, and which I thought was great. And Puff and Stuff, da 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 da, Puff and Stuff. Yeah, I like Puff and Stuff. I also liked the Labadoos. Sorry, I'm probably saying this. The Puffadoos. Puffadoos and everywhere. They're like flying, I don't know what they were considered. Flying, they were flying, what were they, flying bugs, bogaloos, that's it, the bogaloos are everywhere. So they were all repeats because I was real young. So I watched it when I was older, and I thought the bogaloos were great. I also like Wonder Bug, doo-doo, Wonder Bug. He'll listen in a junkyard, electric girl in diner girl. Electric Girl in Diner Girl. Some of them lasted one season, a couple of them lasted a couple seasons, And not Space Nuts, Outdoor States Nuts. It's when these two guys who worked for NASA or the space program, and they were serving lunch. Instead of lunch, they did launch, and they ended up going into space and have adventures in space. I think the guy from Gilligan's Island was in that, Space Nuts, and I love that show too. They had a creature called Honker. So that was a great show for kids back in the 70s. It was clean cut, shows from the 70s. And also, I forget what order, I like Super Friends. I still watch it. I'm a kid at heart. It's on, you can watch a lot of these shows you can watch on on cable, if you have cable, or if you have Prime, or you could always buy it if you want on Amazon or eBay or whatever. So a lot of these you can buy. And I like the Flintstones. Heat the Flintstones on a Sunday at a bed rough. Yep. And I like Scooby Doo Doo. Where are you? I done find a villain. You can cool on Scooby Doo and the Jetsons. Shh, shh. Another show I liked watching a lot in the 70s was Top Cat. He's a win in the and he's an old Kit Kat. Top Cat. He's a cat who is homeless, and he lives in a tin can, and he has a friend. All his friends are cats, and they scourge thing. He wears a little top cat. I also liked. I said Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. That was later in the 70s. And let me think. Oh, Real Road Racer and other things. There's a ton of cartoons I liked. I liked some of the commercials that they had in the 70s too, like that Tootsie Roll commercial where how many licks does it take to lick, and they had the easy. I had this when I was a kid. I had an easy bake oven. I don't know if any of you girls had easy bake oven, and I also we had the Connect Four thing in Battleship. We had a Battleship in Connect Four. You had to be four across with some, and you also had race car things with car. If you're a boy, you would have these race cars. I played with them. I was sort of a tomboy, so you had these race track things, and you would have race tracks. And also they had Lucky Charms, a magic lead to this. And they had also, I also liked in the 60s, this is partly the 60s, but I said 70s because it was in reruns, was Hey Hey with the Monkeys, we're playing around, and we're keeping hanging, and nobody hunting down. Was trying to be friendly. Yeah, I liked watching the Monkeys in reruns. They were a great show watching the Monkeys. And then they showed them doing Life Cereal, or, I liked also the song, I like to keep a Coke and keep it company. It showed a bunch of people singing about Coca-Cola in a thing, and then they had the guy crying because of the trash. They had some great commercials back in the 70s, for kids, and they have Pop Tarts, and you don't take my Lego. So there was a lot of good shows back then. Oh yeah, I can't forget Schoolhouse Rock. That wasn't really a show. I think it was like an advertisement in between shows, Schoolhouse Rock, where you learned adjectives, nouns, verbs. Come on, your adjectives. He was a scary bear. He was a hairy bear. I love Schoolhouse Rock. That was a great show, watching Schoolhouse Rock. A lot of these shows I loved. You learned how to read and write like they did for Zoom and a lot of these other shows. I know they have a lot of shows now, but nothing compared to the old-fashioned shows from the 70s. If you have a favorite show from the 70s as a kid, or the 60s, 70s, let me know, and you can write down your thoughts on what your favorite shows from the 60s or the late 60s into the 70s. Or like I said, in reruns, because they had a lot of great cartoons and live shows like like I said, the Bugaboos, and Sidman the Sea Monster. I love that, and all those crazy things that were people. I think that Marty Krofft. I'm not sure if those guys are still alive. I think they might be. But they were people before their time. I love that, and I love the Super Friends, and I love all Spider-Man, all those things. Even now, I love those things. The Fantastic Four, all those shows from the 70s I loved. So into my next video, take care and enjoy your cartoons and other shows from the 70s. Bye.